Welcome children. Today we are going to start with the first chapter, the last lesson written by Alphonse Daudet. Let us first know about the author. Alphonse Daudet was a French short story writer and novelist, now remembered chiefly as the author of sentimental tales of provincial life in the south of France. He was born on May 13, 1840 at Nimes in France. He was the son of a silk manufacturer. In 1849, his father had to sell his factory and move to Lyon. Alphonse wrote his first poems and his first novel at the age of 14. He died on December 16, 1897 in Paris, France. So, after knowing about author, we need to start with the story, and before starting our story, we need to know the setting of the story, a little bit about the background of the story. The story, the last lesson, is set during the days of Franco-Prussian War during 1870 to 1871, in which France was defeated by Prussia, led by Bismarck. At that time, Prussia consisted of Germany, Poland, and some parts of Austria. So this is the setting of the story. That war time is shown in, means at the time when France was defeated by Prussia, that time period is shown in this story. So that is the setting of the story. Characters. So main characters of the story which are being talked about and which will somewhere appear in the story, let us know them. First is Franz. Franz, he is a school student, and then he is one of the main characters, Franz, and then Mr. M. Hamel. He is another character, a teacher of French language. Then third character is Watcher, a blacksmith. Then next character is Old Hoser, an elderly villager. Old Hoser is no one but an elderly villager only. Then sister of M. Hamel, she will once or twice appear, so one of the minor characters. Then Class, though Class is not a character, but Class is taken to be a character here because it consists of some students and some elderly people in the village. So they collectively are called as Class in the story. So I have taken it as a character. Next is School. School is not in character actually, but yes, it is among the places. It is one of the most important place where the action of the story will happen. So what is this school? It is an elementary school in district Alsace in France. So let us come with the introduction of the story. First we need to know that also. The last lesson, written by Alphonse Daudet, narrates about the year 1870 when the Prussian forces under Bismarck attacked and captured France. The France districts of Alsace and Lorraine went into Prussian hands, and the new Prussian rulers discontinued the teaching of French in the schools of these two districts. The French teachers were asked to leave. Now M. Hamel could no longer, because M. Hamel he is a French teacher, so he could no longer stay in his school. Still he gave lesson to his students, his last lesson, with utmost devotion and sincerity as ever. One of his students of Mr. M. Hamel, Franz, who dreaded French class, and M. Hamel's iron rod, means two things he was dreaded of. One was his French class and second was M. Hamel's iron rod, came to school that day thinking he would be punished as he had not learnt his lesson on participles, because he was unaware of the fact that what has happened, that is going to be his last lesson of French. He was not aware about that, so he was thinking that it is going to be a regular lecture, and he was afraid of his teacher's punishment rather, because he thought that I have not learned the lesson which teacher is going to ask today. But on reaching school, he found Himmel dressed in his fine Sunday clothes and the old people of the village sitting quietly on the back benches. So it was quite surprising for him. But why it was? It was due to an order from Berlin. That was the first day when he realized for the first time that how important French was for him, because it was his mother tongue. So it was really important for him to learn it. So, but it was his last lesson in French. So the first day when he realized the importance of learning French, that was by bad luck, that was his last lesson in French. But he hasn't learned that French till now. So the story depicts the pathos of the whole situation about how people feel when they don't learn their own language, especially their own mother tongue. It tells us about the significance of one's language in one's life for the very existence of our race, and how important it is to safeguard it, because our race will survive when its language will survive. So that importance is being told in this whole chapter. Let us first know the theme. Before starting the story, we should always have these type of ideas, that what is the introduction and what is basically we should know the central idea, that is the theme around which the whole story will be revolving. So let us see the theme. The themes of patriotism, freedom of language, and love for one's mother tongue are predominant in the story. The people of Alsace and Lorraine were denied the freedom to learn their own language by the Prussians. This story reflects upon the arrogance of the colonizers to forcibly take away the rights of those who are colonized. The last lesson stresses on the importance of education and the necessity to respect and learn one's own language. This story draws our attention to the unfair practice of linguistic chauvinism. It refers to an unreasonable pride in one's own language while disregarding all the other languages as inferior, because we all feel that our language is superior one. The people living in the regions of Alsace and Lorraine are the victims of this aggressive concept of linguistic chauvinism. They are forcibly made to learn German. In this story, the author brings into limelight the oppression of the majority. This story also makes a universal appeal as it highlights our tendency to value things more when we no longer have access to them. When French was taught in the school, Franz and the likes of him did not take it seriously. The parents also preferred to see their kids working and earning for the family rather than learning their mother tongue, that is French. It is only when they are denied the freedom of knowing their own language they realize how sorry they are for not paying enough attention to the French lessons and how unfairly they are being treated. The sense of loss is suggested when the mention of Prussians drilling their land. There is a sense of helplessness that runs throughout the poem. Franz feels guilty for not learning his French lessons properly. Himmel feels guilty about not being able to impart all his knowledge to his students. The sense of defeat is evident in his tone, which is usually strict and cranky, but Today means the last day he was gentle, quiet, and motionless. So it is not justified to take away the natural right of people to speak their mother tongue. The solemnity of the classroom builds up the mood of gloom and despair. M. Himmel says that the only way to free themselves from the enslavement is by clinging to their own language. In confined existence, the only key to our prison is our language. Yes, it is true that if we ever want that we can be free or we can communicate among our people, then our language is the only tool. So, let us have a look at the summary. The story is narrated by a French boy, Franz. So, we come to know the whole story through the mouth of Franz. He is lazy but sensitive and likes to play. He dislikes studying French and hates his teacher M. Himmel. That is when this is what he says in the beginning. After overpowering the districts of Alsace and Lorraine in France, Berlin has ordered that German language instead of French be taught in the schools there. So it is the last day of their French teacher M. Himmel, who has been there for 40 years. He is full of grief, nostalgia, and patriotism. As a mark of respect to his hard work, the village men also attend his last lesson. They are sad as they did not learn their mother tongue French in their childhood. Franz is shocked to know that it's his last lesson, as he does not know French. Earlier he hated it, but now suddenly he gets interested in the language and learning it and understands everything taught on that day. Means on that day he understood everything taught by his teacher, but otherwise he used to feel bewildered, he used to feel confused, and he never learned his language seriously. He develops an instant liking for the teacher M. Himmel and respects him for his sincerity and hard work on last day only, because he knew that no more he is going to get that facility. So he feels sad at departing from him and is ashamed for not being able to recite the lesson of participles. M. Himmel tells them that they all are at fault for not being eager enough to learn, putting it off to the next day. All were postponing the learning of French for the next day always, so they were not learning earlier. So he blames himself for not teaching them sincerely also. His patriotism is reflected in his praise for the French language as being the most beautiful and most logical language in the world. He tells the class to safeguard their language, as being close to one's language is the key to escape from the prison of slavery. Because it is our key, it is something which is not known to the other person, so we can use it as a tool of communication. It will help them in getting free from the Germans. They realize the importance of learning their mother tongue and that they have been defeated by the Germans because of their illiteracy. Franz feels that it is not possible to take away one's language from a person, as it is natural to each being. May it be the coo to the pigeons or French to the Frenchmen. So, it completes the summary of your story, the last lesson. We will continue this chapter. The textual part of the chapter will be taken up in the next video, in the next lecture. Till that time, you just revise all these things which are told in this video, so that after completing your text, you should be in a condition to answer the questions which will be asked at the end of the text. Till then, take care. Good day.